Hi, welcome to our video on periodization. So what is periodization? Periodization is the organized strategy to improve performance in a variety of ways. These ways include sport specificity, which would be training our athletes for their specific position, such as training a linebacker to actually be powerful enough to hit and tackle the running back, or training a running back to be fast enough to run past that linebacker. Another way that we can train them is by intensity, so how much weight they're moving, or by volume as well, which is how many reps or sets that they're doing. So the goal of periodization is to get our athletes to the prime peak optimal performance at the right time during the season. So we want our athletes to be at the best possible performance that they can be right when those playoffs hit, so we can win a championship. And to do this, we will follow the general adaptation syndrome graph created by Hans Selye in 1956, which shows the three different phases of general adaptation: the alarm phase, the resistance phase, and the exhaustion phase. The alarm phase is when the body will first start to kind of get into a little bit of a shock. It realizes, whoa, what's going on? This is kind of different from what I'm used to. But once we get into this resistance phase during the workout, the body will realize, okay, this isn't so bad. We're actually trying to do this. We're trying to promote hypertrophy, get the gains that we're wanting. And then if we push the body too far by maybe getting too much weight on the athlete, they'll fall into this exhaustion phase, which is when we'll start to see injury and performance decrease. However, if the athlete starts to plateau in their performance, we can change up the exercises, which in turn will start a new alarm phase, which hopefully we can get the athlete back into that resistance phase to increase the performance. And in turn, this graph will eventually just keep going up and up, ideally to increase the athlete's performance. So to do this, we will use the four phases of periodization: preparatory period, transition period, competitive period, and active rest.
So as Taylor said, there's four phases to the periodization. So if we look at this graph by human kinetics, we'll see that the four periods that we have. So first we're going to start with the relationship between volume and intensity. So as volume decreases, intensity increases, and technique will slowly increase throughout the graph. Now this is because at preparatory period, we're really focusing on the athlete reaching its ideal performance at competition state. So we're not trying to exert our athlete too much, but we're trying to improve their performance very gradually. So as we get to transition period, we'll see the transition between intensity and volume, but we'll also see as technique will increase and eventually surpass our volume. So this is important because we're about 2 to 3 weeks away from hitting our competition day, the very first day, and we want to make sure that if we have baseball players that they swing correctly with good form, or we got pitchers who are really winding up the proper way, so we really increase our performance. Then we'll get to competition period. Competition period is really important for the athlete. It's the most important time during a phase. So once we get to competition period, we'll really see the peak of intensity during our workouts, but we'll also see the peak of our technique, especially towards the end of our competition period. Because if we're getting to the playoffs, we want to make sure that our athletes are doing the best that they can during muscle endurance, muscle power, and just technique in general. So we have our batters who are swinging as hard as they can and hit the ball as accurately as best they can. And then we'll hit our active rest, and this happens during the last game. So as soon as this happens, we're gonna watch our athletes slowly decrease their intensity, but also slowly decrease the technique. So like they're not gonna stop immediately working out, but they're actually gonna slowly. So like if we were having them doing several reps and sets, we're gonna just decrease it one by one as we slowly go into this off season. So the best way we can break it down is by off season, preseason, in-season, postseason. So in off season, this is our general prep. This is when we have our volume at the highest that we have, and this is when the intensity is at that mid-level. But we also have very little technique workouts. So for an example, this would be 2-a-days in football, where we're doing aerobic workouts, and then we're going in and doing high repetitions of weightlifting in the room. And then we'll hit preseason. Preseason is when we're doing that transition between volume and intensity. So our players are getting the best that they can for muscle endurance and muscle power. And then end season is when we're gonna really see technique take over workouts. So we're gonna be watching our athletes, such as running backs, working on agility drills most of the day, our batters working on hitting in the batting cages, but also at the same time, they're also gonna be hitting the gym maybe 2 or 3 times a week. They're not gonna be hitting it as much as they were in the off season. During postseason, this is not the same as playoffs, but postseason is after the very last day of that competition day. And this is when we really want them to slowly decline their workout rates, but not have them stop at all.
So, this has been our crash course in periodization. If you have any questions, comment below. Otherwise, like and subscribe. Hit the little bell icon to get our notifications when we post our next video, and we hope to see you soon.